think he's going to have us all doing push-ups and air squats for 10 minutes straight. It's Jesse Holland. Tim's going to come up in a second and introduce Jesse, so if you want to make your way up, Tim, that'd be great. Next week is Visitor Day, so there will be no 10-minute speaker. Instead, what we're going to do, we haven't reached out to you yet, there's probably a couple still, we're going to bring up several of the members, and you're going to talk about your BNI experience for the visitors, and then we'll go back into our rotation with Steve Cordell, last September meeting, 9/28, and then Nikki Byers, you are up on the lineup for October 5th. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce our introducer, the wonderful, fantastic, amazing Tim Smith.
Hey! I'm really honored to have the opportunity to introduce Jesse, and I'm going to start at the bottom of his list here. His key to success. I thought this was absolutely spot on, and that his being positive is a choice that I make every day. And I come here every Wednesday and I talk to Jesse, and I have never met a person more positive, more upbeat, more truly happy to see you. And I find that very inspirational. I see a guy, a young guy, and everybody in this group is a young guy compared to me, but I see a young guy who completely flies in the face of everything that we all believe about millennials, and I see a guy who's picked, out of the air, he's picked some goals, he's picked some directions that he wants out of his life, and he's grabbed them and he's ran with them, and he's ran hard with them. I've never seen anybody that has worked harder to achieve what he wants to achieve and to meet his goals. I picture the guy on weekends, if he does watch football, I picture him doing push-ups and burpees and while he's sitting there
eating a plate of eggs,
a pile of bacon. I'm really honored to have the opportunity to introduce him, and I'm excited to hear what he's got on his new adventure with his adventure group. So, Jesse, come on up, and I'd love
That was great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse Holland. I'm your fitness professional for the group. I've done a couple of these 10-minute presentations, and I've done them in a myriad of different ways, from our PowerPoints to being interactive. We're not going to do push-ups, sit-ups, and squats today. I'll let everybody relax and digest their breakfast. I was going to take an approach today to go through a little bit of who I am, what I do, and why I do it. So, starting off, I was born in Vermont. I lived in upstate New York and North Shore, Boston. I was moved from Boston to Arizona with my mother and father. My father's 65 years old, owns a floor covering company here in Phoenix. My mother is 63 years old and is a dental hygienist at Briggs Family Dentistry here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've got a 31-year-old sister with a 7-year-old daughter, my goddaughter niece, and a 24-year-old younger brother. I moved out to the West Coast with my mother because she's got Raynaud's disease, a blood disease that doesn't allow the blood to flow all the way to her fingertips. Being a dental hygienist, we had the option to either stay back east and lose her fingers or move out west, so we came this way. I went to Brophy for high school. I graduated from Chaparral before I went to Tucson to go to college. I did not graduate from the University of Arizona. That's probably because I didn't spend enough time in the actual classroom when I was down there. But I did get some schooling in while I was down there. I came back from Tucson and did an internship in LA. I was over in LA for roughly 8 months and then returned back to Scottsdale, where my girlfriend was working at the time with the Phoenix Coyotes. So I did not return to Tucson to finish school. Started working in a restaurant called Claim Jumper. I started out as a bartender and a waiter there, and within a month got promoted to the youngest manager in the history of the company. And I found that something that I grabbed onto and looked to climb the ladder of corporate, if you will. And within that, I traveled around the West Coast. I worked in the Inland Empire in Southern California. Scottsdale's always been my home, so as I opened up new locations for this company, I would always return back to Scottsdale. So I went from the Inland Empire back to Scottsdale. I went to Las Vegas and came back to Scottsdale. I went to Sacramento, San Francisco, back to Scottsdale. In all my moves, I ended up leaving Claim Jumper. I went to work with another company and had an opportunity in LA with a health and lifestyle company. Basically, we were selling nutritional supplements and protein products, a myriad of array of items outside of that. And that's where I had a back injury. I was lifting things inappropriately as a large male growing up, lifting things my entire life. 100 pounds didn't seem like a lot, but I was lifting big, large barrels repetitiously for a couple of months, and that resulted in me herniating L1 through S1. I had started to lose feeling in my right leg and started sciatic pain in my left leg. I went through 4 different courses of treatments between massage therapy, physical therapy, chiropractics, and acupuncture, and that went on for the course of 2 months. I can recall it was 2 months because at the end of 2 months, it was on a Friday that I had gone through all 4 treatments in one day, and I still could not get out of my car to get onto the floor and lay on the couch for the rest of the weekend. So I remember that moment very vividly. That led me to a back surgery that put me into a debilitated state for the next 11 months, and I made it my job and purpose to find a healthier way of life and get back on my feet. My doctor said that I had waited a little bit too long for my surgery, knowing that there was already starting to have nerve damage before the surgery. The repair process was going to take a little bit longer than maybe somebody else within my similar situation. So the course of 11 months of me going through therapy, I'd never been stagnant in my entire life. And I'll tell you that at my heaviest, when I was working in the restaurant industry and management, I got up to 299 pounds. And then I saw a mirror and I didn't know who was in the reflection. So I started working my way back down, but I got down to 220 before I injured my back, and then gained 58 pounds and went up to 278 in my recovery process of just being stagnant on the floor for months on end. So as I was debilitated by my doctor, I took it upon myself to make my job getting healthy, and after my back surgery, I was allowed to start physical therapy, I believe at like the 6th week of my 6-week post-surgery. And after about a week of being in therapy, I'd asked my therapist if I could come in early and stay late, and he looked at me like I had 6 heads. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Apparently nobody before that had ever asked him that, but I was finishing therapy and going back to the house and laying on the floor during this time. So he gladly allowed me to come in early and do exercises and then hang out and watch other athletic trainers and stay after and continue to work out within the realms that I needed to. 11 months fast forward, I'd spent quite a bit of time in the facility. My doctor is discharging me on a Friday afternoon and asked me how my experience went over the last 11 months. I was walking again. I had a smile back on my face. My doctor, my surgeon, had told me that I was probably not going to be lifting more than 5 pounds going forward the rest of my life. So at the end of 11 months, I was picking up like a 6-pound book, and I was proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be doing real well. I wasn't, at that point, he'd offered me a position to assist him in the facility. His assistant was going to school to become a physical therapist, and I jumped at the opportunity to continue to learn more of what I had over the last 11 months. I loved the physical therapy setting. It gave me great base knowledge in learning things that I was never taught as a young individual in an athletic setting. Proper body mechanics, proper muscle activations, and things that are truly keep us out of injury or injury prevention, if you will. From there, I spent, like I said, 3 years at the Desert Institute of Physical Therapy and went looking for something else. I worked within healthcare recruiting for a couple of months, and it really wasn't my cup of tea sitting behind a desk with 3 computer screens and a headset on and my cell phone in front of me. I don't deal with that very well. I did deal with it very well, but it wasn't my cup of tea. My owner at the time, actually an employee of mine asked me if I was doing okay that week, and I said I was doing great, and he kind of looked at me, and then someone else asked me if I was doing okay. Long story short, fast forward, the owner said, why don't you take a month off and come back. This is the end of the year in November. Come back in the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, and you'll have a position if this is where you want to be. The next day I got a phone call from my previous owner, Luke Hyam, and I ended up going to work with SickFit. For 3 years I was a coach, fitness coach for the facility of SickFit. We are a functional fitness brand. I worked with them for 3 years in the community doing marketing, coaching, doing personal training. Our facility was recently sold and we are rebranded to Back on the Bar. It's in the same vicinity, a little bit different an ambiance, if you will. We've got a nice little facelift. Everything in there is clean, new, and pretty. If you haven't been in yet, then I invite you all to come and join me. So my why, really that's basically what I do. I work with patients, clients from 35 to 60 years old. The majority of my clients have some sort of a structural damage, whether that's a shoulder, knee, hip, something that has prevented them from finding a steady stride within their workout regime. I'm kind of their guardian angel, if you will, when it comes to their health and things that they're not understanding within their body. I help guide them along when they leave people like Dr. Robinson and Dr. Dye. They come to me and we keep them moving. So my why, in my recovery process, just before my surgery, I refer to my recovery process as the darkest point in my life. And I say that because I wasn't moving throughout the day. I was limiting the amount of liquids I was drinking because it was a challenge for me to get up off the floor to use the restroom. I remember a dark afternoon with the shades drawn, and I was laying on the floor watching SportsCenter or ESPN, and a commercial flashed on screen, and there was a guy free climbing rocks, another guy snowboarding down the face of a mountain, and I'm laying on the floor going, I'm not going to be able to do any of this again. All I want to do is something like that. And my why is to motivate people that were in my position and get them up and hopefully get them moving again. Things for me start to come full circle. Tim, I appreciate the introduction, and these last 7 years of my life have gone from one direction into another, and it's been nothing but positive for me. One of my goals has been to travel around the world and to be able to give back to others, and a month or so ago I started working with a company called K2 Adventures. That's going to be what you'll see on your desk today. What we do is we take individuals that are looking to fulfill bucket list items. We do tours to Peru, which I'll be doing. I'm doing a Grand Canyon tour this weekend with a group of 14. I'll be assisting a tour to Peru in June of 2017. My first solo tour will be Mount Kilimanjaro at the end of June. I'm in the process of finishing my wilderness first responder certification currently. And that's kind of the next step for me. So I invite all of you to join me, whether that's on a Grand Canyon tour or somewhere else throughout the world. Questions?
Can you tell us a success story? One of your patients, your favorite success story?
Sure. One of my favorite success stories. I worked with a gentleman that had serial entrepreneur, early 30s, was engaged and broke up with his fiance, gained 120 pounds. He came to me at his largest point at 335 pounds. We worked together for roughly 9 months, 5 days a week. Dialed in his nutrition, his workout routine, and he went from 335 down to 215 pounds in the course of that 8.5, 9 month span. It was The guy was dialed into my phone. Any question that he had with how much water can I drink? Am I allowed to drink this juice? Can I eat popcorn? Am I allowed to have tomatoes on this? Every question that he had, he was shooting it to me, and it was 100% guided direction from day one all the way to now, and he's still very successful in maintaining his weight loss.
Love it. Love it.
When's your crew trip?
One more time.
When is your crew trip?
Peru trip is in June, early June 2017, and anybody that would like to join me, I will be doing a kind of a question and presentation, if you will, for all of the 2017 trips at K2 Adventures, which I'll send out an address and the info today.
Can I ask one question, Matt?
One more, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I just don't know if you have time. Can you talk about the stuff that you do with kind of assessing flexibility issues and strength, like imbalances and whatnot, and how you go about addressing that and why that's beneficial?
Yeah, how do I approach things? I approach things from a standpoint that within my time of physical therapy and the array of professional athletes to our common housewife or house husband, I work to build things from a structural standpoint in areas that we find commonalities that we're all unstable on due to things that we've built in society, like chairs when we should be sitting all day and stuff of that nature. Everybody's got different deficiencies, and it takes a little bit for me to go through a series of process to define those, but truly for me the basis is that I just go down to our structural standpoints and start to build out from core and supporting areas.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
One more? Yeah.
Real quick, what do you think of those standing desks?
I think the standing desks are great for anybody that's in this room, anybody that's got a back issue. They typically will rise and fall, so if you're used to sitting, it's great for us to stand up and move around. The body is not meant to be in a seated position all day long unless you're doing squats, which I don't think any of us are. Right? Yeah, then we should be standing up a couple times throughout the day and then moving around. That seated position is the worst for our L4, L5, S1 area, and that's typically clients that I work with typically have areas of issue in that low back area. So if you're having anything, standing desk is great.
Fantastic.